In the summer of 1951, Kemmons Wilson loaded his wife and 5 children into the family station wagon and drove from Memphis, Tennessee to Washington, D.C. It was a miserable trip. The luggage flew off the roof rack and landed in the road, covered in tar and dirt. When they finally reached a motel each night, the rooms were dirty, cramped, and had no air conditioning. And the detail that stuck in Wilson's mind above all others, the motel charged him extra for each of his children to sleep in the same room as their parents. He told his wife, Dorothy, "I'm going to build a chain of 400 quality motels, clean, comfortable, fairly priced, and where children always stay free." She thought he was exaggerating. He wasn't. His name was Kemmons Wilson. He founded Holiday Inn. And in doing so, he became what historians call the father of the modern hotel, the man who turned a bad vacation into the world's largest hotel chain. Charles Kemmons Wilson was born on January 5th, 1913, in Osceola, Arkansas. His father died when Kemmons was just 9 months old. His mother, Ruby, whom everyone called Doll, moved the 2 of them to Memphis, Tennessee, where she found work as a dental assistant and later a bookkeeper. Wilson started working almost as soon as he could walk. At 6 years old, he was selling Saturday Evening Post subscriptions door to door. At 14, he was hit by a car while making deliveries on his bicycle. Doctors told him he would never walk again. A year later, he was walking. That experience, the diagnosis that proved wrong, the recovery that seemed impossible, shaped the way he approached every obstacle for the rest of his life. He left school at 17 when his mother lost her job, becoming the household's breadwinner. He sold popcorn at a movie theater. He leased pinball machines. He distributed jukeboxes. He learned what sold, what didn't, and what people would reliably pay for. By the time he took that fateful road trip in 1951, he was already a successful Memphis real estate developer and home builder. He had made his money before he had his idea, but the idea was about to be larger than everything that came before. When Wilson returned from that disastrous vacation, he sat down with his draftsman, Eddie Bluestein, and described what he wanted to build. A 120-room motel with air-conditioned rooms, a telephone and a free television in every room, a restaurant, a swimming pool, free parking, and, this above everything else, no extra charge for children sleeping in their parents' room. Bluestein had watched the 1942 Bing Crosby film Holiday Inn the night before. He wrote the name on his plans. When he brought them to Wilson the next day, Wilson looked at the name and said, "You know, Eddie, I like that too." Wilson borrowed $300,000 from the bank, built the first Holiday Inn on Memphis's Summer Avenue, and opened it on August 1st, 1952. His mother, Ruby Doll, chose the color scheme, bright green and gold. The 50-foot Great Sign, with its blinking arrow and changeable marquee, was designed to be visible from the highway. The opening was barely over before Wilson was building 3 more in Memphis. What made Holiday Inn different was not any single feature. It was the promise. Before Holiday Inn, every motel was a gamble. You could pull into a roadside motor court and not know until you opened the door whether the room would be clean, comfortable, or safe. Wilson's insight was that the promise of a known, reliable, standardized experience was itself the product. Every Holiday Inn would be identical, same room layout, same amenities, same standards, same price. The Great Sign with its green and gold colors meant one thing wherever you saw it. You know what you're getting. The company's most famous advertising line captured it perfectly. The best surprise is no surprise. In 1954, Wilson partnered with Memphis builder Wallace Johnson and formed Holiday Inns of America. In 1957, he began franchising nationally. The growth was extraordinary. 50 locations by 1958, 100 by 1959, 500 by 1964, by which time the chain had gone international. Wilson placed each new property within 1 day's drive of the last along the routes of Eisenhower's new interstate highway system. He was building for the infrastructure that was being built around him, and the timing was perfect. In 1965, Wilson made a move that set Holiday Inn further ahead of every competitor. He contracted with IBM to develop the holodeck system, the first computerized hotel reservation system in history. A travel agent anywhere in the country could check the availability of rooms at any Holiday Inn in the system and make a booking in seconds. This was revolutionary. It made Holiday Inn not just the most recognizable hotel chain in America, but the most convenient. Competitors who could match the rooms could not match the system. Wilson also opened the Holiday Inn Innkeeping School to train franchisees and hired teams of quality inspectors to visit every property. Franchisees who failed their inspections had to bring their properties up to standard or lose the license. He understood that a chain is only as good as its worst location. One bad Holiday Inn could damage the trust that every other Holiday Inn had built. In 1968, the 1,000th Holiday Inn opened in San Antonio, Texas. At the peak of expansion, a new Holiday Inn was opening somewhere in the world every 3 days. In June 1972, Kemmons Wilson appeared on the cover of Time magazine. The headline read, "The Man with 300,000 Beds." The article declared that Wilson had transformed the motel from, in the magazine's words, the old wayside flea bag into the most popular home away from home. By the time Wilson retired from Holiday Inn in 1979, the chain had more than 1,700 properties in nearly 50 countries, making it the largest hotel company in the world. The competitors he had inspired, Ramada, Quality Inn, Howard Johnson's, Best Western, had all adopted his model. Standardized rooms, consistent amenities, brand identity, and a reservation system. He had built the infrastructure for American road travel at exactly the moment when America was hitting the road. What did Kemmons Wilson actually build? 4 things that remain. First, the standardized hotel brand. Before Wilson, every motel was a gamble. He proved that a guaranteed standard of quality was worth more to a traveler than any individual property's character or charm. The chain hotel is now the default experience of travel everywhere in the world. Second, children stay free. A single policy decision that made family road travel affordable for the American middle class. Every hotel chain in the world adopted it. It is still standard practice. Third, the computerized reservation system. Holodecks in 1965 was the world's first. It made instant booking possible, gave travel agents a tool they had never had, and is the direct ancestor of every online hotel booking platform in existence today. Fourth, the managed franchise model. He didn't just license his name, he trained franchisees, inspected their properties, enforced his standards, and revoked licenses from those who failed. This model, the franchisor as active quality controller, is now universal. 3 lessons from Kemmons Wilson's life. First, your frustration is your market research. Wilson didn't commission a study. He had a miserable vacation and trusted that millions of other Americans were having the same experience. The most powerful business ideas come from personal pain, from the moment when you say, "This is wrong and I can fix it." Second, standardization is a product. The Holiday Inn room was not luxurious. It was predictable. Travelers didn't want the best room. They wanted to know exactly what they were getting before they paid for it. Reliability is a feature, not a limitation. Predictability at scale is a competitive advantage. Third, time your idea to the infrastructure. Wilson opened Holiday Inns precisely as Eisenhower was building the interstate highway system. The new roads made his motels necessary. His motels made the roads usable for ordinary families. The greatest business opportunities often appear at the junction of a new idea and an emerging infrastructure. And Wilson was perfectly positioned at that junction. One bad vacation, $300,000 borrowed from a bank. 5 children who kept their parents company on the road. He built 1,700 hotels in 50 countries. He invented the standardized hotel brand. He put family road travel within reach of every American family. The best surprise is no surprise. And for 50 years of American road trips, that was the promise Kemmons Wilson kept. Thank you for joining us for episode 29. Our next episode is Howard Hughes, aviation pioneer, film mogul, defense contractor, and the most eccentric billionaire America has ever produced. Until then, stay curious.